So for this class, I'm going to focus on how to utilize the breath to trigger what's called the relaxation response in the body. So we always think about our stress response or our fight or flight response when it comes to the nervous system. And sometimes we forget that we also have this innate response called our relaxation response. And we can trigger the relaxation response through yoga, through certain ways that we move, rocking motions, really fluid, rhythmic movements can really help calm the nervous system, and especially our breath. And so for this class, we're going to focus on two specific elements of the breath that we're going to continue to kind of pull in and yoke throughout the whole class. So those two elements are a deep diaphragmatic breath. So that would be your inhale, actually breathing from the belly. And this can get restricted in us. As human beings, we're pretty unique that we stand upright. And when we stand upright, it's actually exposing all of our most vital and sensitive areas of the body. So what tends to happen in response to fear or stress is that we want to really close off or contract around these vital organs. And it's an innate response. It's a protective mechanism that most of the time we're not even aware of. So we're going to work throughout class to really open the belly. We'll use the myofascial release to open restrictions that can develop around the abdomen, and open the side ribs and the diaphragm and even the back ribs, so that whenever it does come time to take those deep belly breaths that we're always guided to, we're actually able to. So along with a deep diaphragmatic breath, we'll be bringing in constantly, going to continue to come back to this throughout class, a lengthened exhale. So believe it or not, exhaling for longer than that of your inhale is actually pretty challenging, especially if we're in that fight or flight or that revved up state. So kind of meet your body where it is. I'd love for you to notice maybe how long your exhales are at the beginning of class, and then take note at the end of class. And just know that you can always come back to these two really simple elements of a deep diaphragmatic breath and a lengthened exhale to start to calm the body. And so to do this, we're going to begin class on our belly. Prone positions, anytime you lay on the belly, it's actually super calming because the belly feels safe and protected. It's down closer to the floor. So we'll start with that, with this feeling of safety and protection. And we also get a lot of great biofeedback of breathing in and out of the belly, feeling yourself rise and fall. So we'll begin there. If you have a full belly right now, you might wait for this practice. If you have any contraindications like pregnancy or scar tissue, any injuries to the belly or internal organs, then this might not be your practice. Otherwise, let's get started. So for this, have some props nearby. Have a blanket, a couple blocks, and a bolster. And we'll begin down on the belly. So take your time coming to the belly, and we'll just begin with the hands stacked one on top of the other. And you can rest the forehead down on the hands. Step the feet out a little bit wider than your hips. This usually feels a little bit more comfortable on the low back. And just begin by bending your knees and gently rocking the knees side to side. We'll be doing a lot of this rocking movement throughout class today. Also really calming to the body, really soothing to the nervous system. As you begin to gently rock the legs side to side, start to invite in a deep belly breath. And so you actually feel the belly press down into the floor. And go ahead and slow your rocking down and stretch your legs out where you feel comfortable, so we can focus just solely on the breath here to begin with. Inhale, breathe deep into the belly.
the side ribs and the back ribs. Exhale, soften the belly, the side ribs, and the back ribs. And here first, just kind of focus on that deep abdominal breath, of the sensation of feeling the abdomen press into the floor, and that sense of expansion. And then as you're ready, just begin to notice now the length of your exhale. So don't even worry about changing your exhale just yet. Try not to judge it, just notice it. Maybe count a few of your exhalations. And from here, really slowly, start to extend just your right arm straight out in front of you. And then you're going to bring your left hand underneath your left shoulder. And then let yourself start to really slowly roll just onto your right side body. So if it's comfortable, you can tap your left toes back behind you, like a little, just something to kind of catch you there. If that's not quite comfortable, the leg can totally hang out here in space, right? And then with your left hand on the floor in front of you, start to let yourself rock and roll across your side ribs. And then from here, just continue this rolling motion. You'll kind of roll off of your mat. I should have mentioned sometimes it's nice to do this type of practice with two mats or just on a big blanket. We'll roll around a little bit. So inhale, reach the arms back. Exhale, gather up your left knee, pull the knee into the belly, and just give it a big squeeze in. We're going to do a few rounds of muscle energy technique for your psoas, another one of these muscles that tends to contract in response to stress or perceived threats or real threats. So take a deep breath in. Hold your breath. You're gently going to push your left knee forward into your hands. You can see I'm actually moving my thigh away from my belly, but everything through my abdomen is staying really stationary. And then as you exhale, draw the knee in a little bit more. Inhale, gently press your knee forward. Exhale, release. Inhale, press the knee forward. Big exhale, release, tugging the knee in. Now, just hold the leg here in space, and we're just going to take two of those really deep abdominal breaths in. And begin to invite a lengthened exhale out. Maybe even breathing out through the mouth. And as you exhale, try to not let all the breath come out like at once. Try to drag it out really slow and steady. Go ahead and release the left foot to the floor, release the arms back behind you overhead, and then just let your knee float open into a little tree pose shape, a little fallen tree pose shape on your back. Now take a deep breath into the low ribs, into the belly, as you stretch and reach the arms back behind you. Exhale, start to draw your left knee up. And then just continue to point your left knee to the right to roll you to your belly. Now you can use this left hand on the floor to kind of catch you. And you'll roll all the way down to your belly. Just coming back to your prone position. And take a deep breath into the abdomen. Exhale and slowly release that breath. Feel that sensation of heaviness and release at the bottom of your exhale. And from here, take your left arm out in front. Slide your right hand under your right shoulder. You can bend into your right knee. And then just roll onto your left side. And you don't have to go all the way over here quite so at first. If it's comfortable, you can take the toes back behind you on the floor or just leave them in space. But give this a minute to kind of massage across the side body. And at the same time, lengthening the whole left side body. And breathing into the rib cage, opening here through the intercostals. And then just continue to reach that right leg back behind you to find the floor and help you transition to your back. And as you come to your back, you'll want to kind of plant your right foot, get yourself organized, and then pull your right knee into your belly. Give it a big squeeze in. Again, we'll do 3 rounds of MET for the psoas here. So you're going to inhale, breathe deep into your belly, hold your breath in as you push that right knee forward. So here you're engaging your hip flexors. And then as you exhale, you're relaxing them as you bring the 2 ends of the muscle closer together, which is a great way to release them. Take an inhale, press forward. Big exhale, relax. One more time, inhale, press forward. Exhale, release, slow and steady, pressing out every last bit of air. Go ahead and release your right foot to the floor, wave your arms back behind you overhead, and then let your right knee fall open into this little fallen tree pose. Inhale, breathe deep into the side ribs, the belly, even the back ribs. Exhale, start to draw your right knee pointed up towards the ceiling, then direct it over to the left to roll you all the way to your belly. You can use your right hand for support. And then find yourself on your belly. Again, come back at first with the hands underneath the forehead and take a couple of deep breaths here into the abdomen. And from here, slide your hands back to frame your heart. Wrap the head of your arm bones back and press up through a little cobra into a little back bend. And then glide your hips back. Walk your knees a little bit wider, 2 big toes to touch. And take a breath here in child's pose. We're going to stay up on the fingertips for this. Again, just starting to invite a lot of length into the side body. Rest the forehead to the floor if that's comfortable. Just here for a couple of breaths into the side ribs. As you exhale, breathe out through the mouth like you were blowing out a candle. And do that one more time. Inhale. Breathe deep into your belly. Exhale through the mouth like you're really slowly, mindfully blowing out a candle. And from here, slide your hands in and make your way up to all fours into a tabletop position. And we're actually going to stretch your tabletop out a little bit longer than we normally would. So more of like a knee down push-up position. And we're going to start with some of these rolling motions. So as you inhale, let the heart begin to open. Just a little baby back bend. As you exhale, pull the belly back, pull the chin in, empty your breath completely. Even kind of pause at the bottom of your exhale. And then inhale with a rounded spine, roll yourself forward, shoulders over wrist. Hold that breath in just for a moment to open into your back bend. Exhale, pull the chin in, pull the belly back, and round the spine back. Now just keep going. So you'll come forward with a rounded spine on that inhale. You'll stretch your inhale out to open up. And then you'll glide your way back as you exhale. Good. Keep going, moving with your breath here. And the goal with this movement, moving slow, going 1 breath per movement, is that we can start to stretch out the breath. And they say a slow breath equals a nice, long, slow life. And unfortunately, that a faster breath, you can figure out the rest. So the more we can slow our breath, the more we can lengthen our exhales, the calmer we are, the healthier we are. And the next time that you're gliding back, go ahead and rest here in child's pose. And for this child's pose, we're actually going to bring the knees together so that we can start to find a little bit of this compression on the belly. Now, sometimes when we bring the knees together, it's not quite as easy to get the forehead to the floor. So you can try to wrap the arms forehead to the floor, and if that's really comfortable, that's totally fine, or use a block. So I'm going to use a block for this first one so that there's just less strain on the body. And as you come here, if it's comfortable, you can begin to rock the hips side to side, so you're kind of rolling across the shins, the front of the ankles. They're getting a nice little stretch and a massage. And continue to breathe really deep into your belly here. And then just pause, take one more deep breath in. And one more slow breath out. Start to make your way up. You can take your block off to the side and grab your blanket. So we're going to start to work with releasing tension in the belly as well as the diaphragm in an effort to increase that ability for us to breathe really deep into the belly. So take a blanket, or you can also use a towel, is just fine with this, and roll it up. And I'm going to leave just a little bit of space. I'm not going to roll mine up all the way. That can be a little intense sometimes. So just know you can always do more and you can do less. So what we'll do is you're going to come down and you're going to lay on this just below your belly button. That's kind of the area that we're going to target. And you'll come down to your forearms at first so that you can kind of orient yourself. And you'll lay the belly just below the belly button on your blanket. And I like to stay up on the forearms for a few breaths and rock side to side, kind of wiggle my legs out a little bit wider than the hips, and just start to find a position that feels relatively comfortable. Now, just so you know, we can have a surprising amount of trigger points in this muscle, in the rectus abdominis. And when there's trigger points here, the pain is actually referred to your back. It's usually like a band-like pain through the mid-back as well as the low back. So if you experience that from time to time, you might experiment with releasing your abdominal muscles. So releasing them with myofascial release and then lengthening them is a really good combination of methods to release these trigger points. So once you're kind of settled in, we'll come all the way down to the belly. It usually gets a little bit more intense once we and you can have the hands rested one on top of the other, and you can also turn your head to one side. That's totally fine. But just start to breathe into your belly. And with each exhale, sink more and more into the support of the blanket beneath you. And as you rest here, again, come back to working on lengthening your exhales. So when I feel myself kind of in that stressed or fight or flight state, I find it difficult to exhale really fully or to lengthen out the exhale. So if you feel that, it can be really helpful to exhale through the mouth, just through like slightly parted lips. Like I said before, maybe like you're blowing out a candle. And take one more deep breath into your belly. One more slow breath out through the mouth. And from here, slide your hands back to frame your heart. Wrap your shoulders onto your back. Press your way up through a back bend. And then go ahead and unfold your blanket. And we'll slide the blanket underneath our knees at this point. And I'll turn to face you here, because we're going to come all the way upright onto the knees. So make your way upright. And first, just kind of find a nice tall spine. And you might notice as you inhale the arms up overhead, if you're just able to open the front line, hopefully with a bit more ease, release your arms down. And then take your right leg out to the right. And we're going to find this little knee down side lunge. So usually scooching the foot out just a little bit is fine. But we're looking for the legs to be right in line with one another. And so glide back and forth a couple times, just kind of saying a nice hello to the inner thighs. Not yelling at them or anything. We're being really nice to the body today. The body likes to be slowly invited open. The nervous system responds really well to that. So kind of go into where you feel like, oh, hello, and then back up just a little bit. And then hold that with a lot of muscle energy. And just feel that stability through the pelvis, through the legs, from the ground up. And then bring your right forearm to your thigh, and then your left hand to the back of the head. And as we start to move here, we're going to work on mobilizing the side body, as well as opening the intercostals. I just want you to know, don't worry about going to an edge or pushing too far. Be really gentle with yourself. As you exhale, you're going to let your heart spin down towards the mat. And then as you inhale, move from your heart, spiraling the heart open and reaching back. And then here's where I don't want you to think you need to keep trying to go further. Just go to where you meet resistance and then move right back out. So we're going to use some dynamic movement to invite the body open. So exhale to close, inhale to open. Good. The next time you inhale and open, pause here, release the arm, stretch it up, and then push down really firmly into your left knee, reach up, and then exhale, reach over to the right just a little bit more. Good. Start to make your way up. And from here, you're going to pivot your right leg, so your toes are pointed forward. And then we're going to come down, finding like a little knee down side plank. So as you place your left hand, take it slightly in front of the head of your arm bone, so that as you lift your leg, the hand is still just slightly in front of the head of the arm bone. So find that. And then lift your leg for a moment, point your toes. And then go ahead and set your toes down. And as you do, think of bowing the top side body up and contracting the bottom side body. And then reach your top arm up. Inhale. Exhale, reach it overhead and just let that top elbow bend as you breathe into the side ribs. Breathe deep into the diaphragm. Exhale slow and steady. One more deep breath. And then exhale, just release the arm, and you're going to walk and kind of pivot yourself so that you're landing back on all fours in tabletop. Now, as you come to all fours in tabletop, we're just going to move through some rounds of cat and cow. And as you move, I want you to just really feel and sense one side body versus the other. They both got an opening, but in different ways. So you might just kind of notice which one worked best for you. And then roll up your spine as you're ready, coming all the way upright. As you come upright, you can reach your arms up overhead, open the front line of the body. Exhale, release your arms down. And you'll pivot your left foot off. Again, find your nice even little knee down side lunge. And then take a few little dips in. Say hello to your adductors. How are you doing today? And then kind of ease in to where you feel a stretch, and then pull back just a little bit and invite more strength. Think of hugging everything in and around the pelvis and staying really grounded through that left foot. Left forearm to the thigh, right hand to the back of the head. And then to start with, exhale, just spiral the chest down and move from your heart to spiral the heart open. Exhale to close.
close. Inhale to open. Keep going. And just really meet the body where it is here. Do your best to not force anything. We're always looking to balance effort and ease through everything we do on our mats. One more time, inhale, open. And then go ahead and reach that top arm up. And then root down really firmly into your left knee. And then reach over. Inhale, make your way up. And you'll pivot that left leg out to the left. And like a little teapot, tip yourself over. So your hand can go slightly in front of the head of your arm bone. And then lift the leg. Make sure everything's still where you want it to be. And then point your toes and set your leg down. And as you do, think of contracting this right side body. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, reach the left arm overhead, inviting this kind of bowing feeling across the side body. And then you can just let that top elbow bend and breathe into this space. Breathe into the side ribs, the belly. Invite a slow breath out as you exhale. And then pivot yourself down and around, coming back to all fours in tabletop. As you come to all fours, again, move through some rounds of cat and cow. And just notice. Good. From here, walk your knees back off of your blanket, and we're going to find another area of the front line of the body to add a little compression to. So we're going to give some myofascial release to our hip flexors. So same thing with the blanket. This way, usually you can go ahead and roll it up all the way, but modify and adjust. I'll give you guys time to get settled. So now we're going to go down a little bit lower. So before we were just below the belly button. Now we're going to go all the way down towards your ASIS, or your frontal hip points. And we'll be compressing a couple of your hip flexors. There's one that lives kind of right here where your pants pockets are. And then we'll be able to get a little bit of the psoas here too. So come down to your forearms. And then lay your pelvis across your blanket. And again, start off on the forearms so that you have some time to kind of shift and adjust the hips. We'll keep the legs in line with the hips for this one because we're going to add some movement with the legs to invite the front line of the body to open. So we'll come all the way down and just begin with the forehead down onto your hands. Once you come down, again, make sure everything's where you want it to be. And first, just let the pelvis get really heavy. And soften through your belly and breathe deep into your belly. And start to press the front of your pelvis and your pubic bone down into the blanket, and you should feel the tailbone kind of draw down to the heels when you do that. So find that, and then inhale, peel just your left leg up with the knees straight and the toes pointed. And don't worry about lifting it really high. Rather, think of reaching the toes back like you were trying to touch something. And sometimes when you do that, it just kind of naturally peels the forehead up a little bit. Go ahead and release everything down. Shake out your glutes a little bit. Take a deep breath into the belly. Slow breath out through the mouth. Start to ground through the front of the pelvis, the pubic bone. Peel the right leg up and then reach the toes back and see if that just kind of naturally lifts the forehead away from the hands. You can keep the back of the neck really long here, though. Go ahead and release and melt back into the floor. Now from here, take your right arm straight out in front of you. This will be similar to what we did at the very beginning of class. Now we just have a blanket underneath us. So you're going to bend your left knee, right arm out in front, left hand under your left shoulder. Just let that right ear roll to your right arm, and you're going to roll over to the side of your hip. Now just keep your leg in the air for this, and find a little massage across. This is your TFL, your tensa fasciata.
that is another little hip flexor that tends to build a lot of tension or stay contracted when we're stressed out or fearful. And roll back to your belly, extend that left leg out. We're going to find a little back bend in between sides, so bring your hands to frame your heart. Inhale, press up through a little cobra. You can usually press higher with the blanket here. And then exhale, melt down. As you come down, left arm will come out in front. Right hand under your right shoulder, bend your right knee. And then let your head just rest on your arm. And then just kind of explore here. Anytime we're practicing myofascial release, it is a very individual exploratory practice, so you find what works for you. I like to rock, keep moving, but sometimes just being really still can be nice too. And take your time, roll all the way back to your belly. As you come to your belly, slide your hands back to frame your heart. Ground through the front of your pelvis and feel how that just naturally rolls you up. And from here, come back to all fours and tabletop. Take your blanket, slide it off to the side. And we're going to come back into child's pose. This time we're going to bring a bolster underneath this. So you could use a bolster or a big pillow, something like this shape that you can kind of rest on here. Again, anytime we've got something underneath our belly that we can kind of rest on, it's just super calming and soothing to the nervous system. So we're going to bring this bolster over towards the right a little bit. Now, if your knees are restricted or tight, you could always slide something here in any child's pose behind the calves. So you just, something bigger or smaller, whatever works. Now, you're just going to come down and find a little twist of your abdomen so that you're laying your belly on the bolster. And just let your head turn towards the right. Left arm's going to extend out front if that's comfortable. The elbow could be bent here. Do whatever you need to do to make sure your shoulders feel really comfortable. And now just start to breathe deeply in and out of the belly. And you can focus the breath into the left side body and the back ribs. And you might even notice here how the left side's being lengthened, the right side is actually in a position of release. Begin to invite those slow breaths out, and you might feel yourself sinking more and more into the floor, into the bolster or your blanket with each slow breath out. Take one more deep breath into the left side. Find one more slow breath out, releasing any tension. Be gentle, move slow. We got really relaxed there, so make your way up. Take your bolster off to the side. We're going to stretch out the legs in between sides here. So just come to an all fours position, hands underneath your shoulders and knees underneath your hips. And then you're going to take your right leg and stretch it straight back behind you. Flex your foot, spread your toes. And then go ahead and wrap your right leg over to your left and set your toes down. And then you're going to look back at your toes. And what you should feel, again, is this kind of bowing action through the right side and the left side contracting. And then peel that right leg up. Take a deep breath in, look forward. Slow breath out as you exhale. Bend your right knee. Pull the knee into the belly. Push into your palms. Chin to the knee. Press out every last bit of air. come back to all fours. Knees are going to go wide, two big toes to touch, and we'll set up for that child's pose on the other side now. So you'll have your bolster towards your left, angling out a little bit. If you need any support between the legs here, you can find that. But before you lay down, find a little twist through the ribs. You'll stretch the right arm out longer. Turn your gaze to the right. And then just give yourself a minute to kind of shift and adjust and settle in. Find your slow, deep breaths. Your lengthened exhales. Breathing into the right side body. One more deep breath into the right side body. One more slow breath out, releasing any last bits of tension. You can make your way up, take your bolster off to the side, come back to all fours in tabletop, knees underneath the hips, and you might take a moment to tuck the toes under. We'll stretch out the feet a little bit from being folded up. And with the toes tucked under, just shift your hips back to your heels, push into your palms, pull the belly in and up. Big exhale here. Glide your way forward. Inhale, open. Exhale, push into your palms, round your spine, drop your head. From here, come back, find your neutral spine, pick up your left leg, stretch it back, and then you'll wrap your left toes over to the right and look at your toes. Go ahead and pick your leg up, point your toes, inhale, look forward. Exhale, bend your knee, round your spine, press out every last bit of air, and then go ahead and set your knee down. From here, shift your weight back just so you can snag a couple blocks. You don't have to have these, but if you do, I highly recommend it. We're going to find a little forward fold series, and blocks are great. So find yourself up and back into a downward dog position. And just starting to kind of stretch out the legs here. So give yourself some time to kind of bend into one knee. Let the other heel relax and release towards the floor. Just pass back and forth, side to side. Now step your feet out wider and a little bit closer to your hands. Start to walk your hands back towards your feet, and along the way, snag those two blocks and have them out in front of you, in front of the feet a little ways. So you've got some room to groove. Take a deep breath in, bend into your knees, find like a little chair pose, and then exhale, push into your feet, release all the way down. Let the head get really heavy here, forward fold. Inhale, bend into your knees, look forward, maybe rise up onto tippy toes. Exhale, release the heels, release the head, full breath out. Inhale, bend the knees, find your little squat, maybe on tippy toes, and then root the heels and release. Hands to your blocks, and then step your feet out wider. So you're in almost like a wide leg forward fold. Move your blocks out in front of you a little bit so that you can plant your palms on the blocks, bend your knees as much as you need to, but find this place where you're folding but inviting a lot of length through the side body, and then breathe into that space that you've created. I always like to imagine I have gills along the side ribs, and I'm breathing in and out of those gills. And one more deep breath into your belly. Feel the belly expand. One more slow breath out. As you exhale, you can move your blocks to the side, plant your palms, crawl your way to a high push-up position.
Just here for a breath or two to cultivate that sense of strength, pushing the floor away. Go ahead and release your knees to the floor and shift your hips back. And we're going to set up for another little prone or on our belly, kind of restorative pose. So go ahead and snag a bolster or a big pillow, just something to lay underneath the chest is perfect here. And then you might have one block, again, a pillow, or just have some props around towards the top of your mat. You can kind of find what works here for you. So you're going to come down to your belly, and you're going to lay your chest across your bolster or your pillow. And higher is usually better, but shift around, find what feels good for you. If you go lower, it's going to put you, if you slide this down lower, like so, it's going to put you up into more of a back bend, and it might feel a little crunchy after a while. So we want this to be super gentle so that we can actually stay and rest for a little bit. So again, maybe legs a little bit wider. That feels better. Just kind of give yourself a minute to shift and wiggle. And then snag a block. And I'm going to show you a few different variations for this. So you could take your block and have it on the tall setting and kind of tilt it towards the forehead. And maybe try that. You could also have it down another notch if that's too high. And if the block feels uncomfortable at all, you can always lay a blanket across it. So I always like to try a few different ways so that I can land on what feels best for me that day. And it can differ from day to day for sure. So for me, the taller setting angled felt really good. So we're going to come and start to rest here. First, just do a quick little body scan. And just notice if there's any areas of tension. Notice if there's any sense of compression around the low back. And if there is, I want you to back off the degree of your back bend. So don't be in as much of a back bend. So just shift around and adjust. Your body will let you know. And once you're settled, bring all of your focus and your attention to your deep diaphragmatic breath into the belly. Start to cultivate your slow exhales out. Maybe breathing out through the mouth still, or if you're feeling more at ease with just breathing out through the nose, that's totally fine. And as you rest here, you might start to count the breath. And the goal would be to double the length of your exhale to that of your inhale. So maybe a 4 count as you inhale and an 8 count as you exhale. That's always a really good goal to work towards. But anytime we're practicing pranayama, the golden rule of it is it should never create tension in the body or the mind. And feel the sensation at the very bottom of each exhale. It's this place of heaviness as you release the breath. It's this place of surrender, letting go as you release the breath. We'll be here a little bit longer, but if at any point you're ready to make an exit, listen to your body. Just want to be really mindful to come out nice and slow. Take one more deep breath into your belly. One more slow breath out.
said, we'll come out really slow, taking our time. So you can move your block. And maybe crawl up onto your forearms to begin with and get your forearms really anchored. And then you can walk the knees up underneath you. And then find yourself in a tabletop position. So finding the hands back underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Just giving the spine a moment to neutralize after being a back bend and a back bend. So cinch in around your waist, push your palms into the mat. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale, shift your hips back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, shift back. One more time, inhale, come forward. Same as you exhale and shift back, just cross your legs and come to seated. So I'm going to guide us through a little neck and shoulder mobilization. This can also help to balance our breath. So when we're in kind of our stress response or our fight or flight, or we're just running around really busy, we tend to do this thing where you kind of suck air. I'm sure you guys can identify. It's where you go, right? And it's never really quite that satisfying. And when you breathe like that, then you actually start to feel the need to suck more air in because you're not getting a full breath and you're not expelling your exhales completely. So you're not getting all of those toxins out. We actually release 70% of our toxins from the body through our exhales. So the exhales are really powerful. So obviously we'll use this, we're going to do some muscle energy techniques, so we'll be weaving the breath in quite a bit. But what tends to happen when we breathe really shallow, and we go, right? See what's happening with my chest here, I'm going, right? So I'm using some muscles that aren't necessarily designed to be utilized for respiration all day long. That's what our diaphragm's for. But when our belly gets tight and we stop using our diaphragm, we overwork these muscles, specifically pec minor in the chest, your scalene through the side of the neck, and then your SEM. So these muscles that actually have a connection from the base of the skull, behind the ear, all the way down to the collarbones and the ribs. And when they get really tight and tense, they keep us here, which is another signal to the nervous system, like, oh, there's a threat, there's something happening. And the more open we are through here, the more calm our body is going to feel. So all that being said, let's practice a little MUT for our necks. So find a nice tall spine. You can do this seated in easy pose. I really enjoy doing this one seated in Virasana on a block. You could always use 2 blocks as well. You can also do this in a chair. So, and if you really enjoy this release, we have it under our mini methods. You can just go to it, find this one directly, and practice it on its own. I highly recommend it. I do it every day. So find your nice tall spine. And then you're going to tilt your left ear to your left shoulder and just let your arms kind of dangle down beside you. Now, as always, resist the urge to like go really far. So just go to where your body meets the resistance and stop. Bring the left arm up and over, rest it on the right side of your head. Take a deep breath in to your belly. Resist that urge to suck air to your chest. And as you're holding your breath in, you're gently going to push your head into your hands. As you can see me, my head's actually moving a little bit and contracting along the right side of the neck and shoulder. Now slow breath out. Exhale, relax that contraction and let the head tilt a little bit more just if it wants to. Take another deep breath into the belly. Press your head into your hand. This time we'll add on by sliding the shoulder up to the ear. So contracting the 2 towards each other, holding the breath in. Exhale, first relax your shoulder, then allow the neck to release. One more time, just like that. Inhale, go push your head into your hand. Hold the breath, glide the shoulder to the ear. Big exhale, let your shoulder drop, and allow the neck to open. Now one more element here. We'll start to find some movement. So all I want you to do is kind of push your head back into your hand. So there's like a little bit of resistance and force transmitted this way. And then we're going to invite some movement. So you'll bring your left ear to your left shoulder, drop the chin, roll the right ear to the right shoulder, drop the head back. And as you can see, the chest and the ribs are kind of balancing the movement of my head. And this should kind of happen naturally. It's like a spiraling movement. It's a really efficient way of moving, but we don't spiral a lot. So if it feels a little weird, just maybe close your eyes, get out of your head, and just kind of follow where the body wants to move. You might even stop and then go back the other direction. And sometimes one way comes with more ease. This should all feel good, and there's just this little bit of muscle energy happening, pushing the head back into the hand. Good, and then unwind, roll the head back to center. And then go ahead, release your arms down beside you, and take a pause between sides to notice. And just feel your right arm versus your left arm. Big difference, right? Good, so we'll do the other side, so both sides feel good. So you'll tilt your right ear to your right shoulder now, and then that right arm's gonna come up and over. Take a deep breath in. Hold your breath as you push your head into your hand. So here you're firing up your sternocleidomastoid from behind the ear to the collarbone. Exhale, it's relaxing as it lengthens. Inhale, press your head into your hand, and now glide your shoulder to your ear. And these muscles that we're working right now, they're soaking up all of this oxygen, this breath we're holding like a sponge. Exhale, first let your shoulder drop, and then maybe the neck will open more for you. Inhale, hold your breath, press your head into your hand, glide your shoulder to your ear. Slow breath out. Exhale, release the shoulder, allow the neck to open, good. And then push your head back into your hand just a little bit and start to find this spiraling of the head. Drawing some circles, keeping that sense of muscle energy, pushing the head gently into the hand as you move. And then just let the rib cage kind of balance. So as the head goes forward, the chest hollows. And as the head goes back, you might reverse directions. As the head goes back, the chest opens. And then glide your way back to center. Go ahead and release your arm. And again, just close your eyes. Take a little pause. Feel your arms here. Maybe tilt an ear to the shoulder and the other. And just notice. And then let's take a couple deep breaths and just kind of see where we're at, where our breath is coming. And just notice if now maybe you can breathe into the belly with hopefully some more ease, and that we're not calling upon these secondary muscles of respiration through the neck and the shoulders quite so much. So you can always come back to this practice of MET for the neck, and you could also, this one's great, where you just inhale, draw the shoulders to the ears, hold the breath in for a moment, and then it's a slow breath out, letting the shoulders relax down. All right, so come around to seated. You might want to take a moment to kind of stretch out the legs a little bit. And we've got one more myofascial release exercise for our side ribs. So take a blanket or a towel, whatever you've got. I like a blanket better than a pillow. It's a little bit more dense, something to kind of push back. So take a blanket. I like a yoga blanket where I fold it twice, so it makes a little square. And then we're gonna lay our side body across the yoga blanket. Okay, so from here, let's start laying down on our left side. And you're gonna find your ribs right across that blanket. And you might start with a hand underneath the head just to get yourself kind of acquainted and adjusted. This shouldn't be super intense. There's another variation of this with the block, but I'm wanting to keep everything really gentle today. So the body doesn't tense up at all. We're trying to get rid of tension. So as you settle in here, start to rock and roll the rib cage forward and back a little bit, creating this gentle compression for the little muscles that run between each of the ribs, our intercostals. And then kind of bring yourself towards center. We'll add on a bit. Now, if at any point something doesn't feel great on the neck or the head, you can always come back to this position where the hand's supporting the head. But if you want to add on, you'd extend the arm out, and then you'll let the head rest down on the arm. And this is actually going to create kind of a nice little stretch up into the side neck as well. And then from here, go ahead and lift your top leg up and stretch it down towards the end of the mat. You're going to keep it lifted at first, so there's some engagement. And then reach that left arm up into the air, or your right arm. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale, you're going to release the two away. And what I like to do is take this top leg and stretch it back a little bit to find the floor. So kind of play with that. You might even adjust where you're at on that bottom hip. Get yourself settled. I want you to be able to relax here a little bit. And start to cinch in around your waist to provide a bit of support. And then that top arm can stretch overhead. Stretching all the way overhead doesn't feel great. The elbow can be bent to any degree, or even hand to the back of the head, or hand can stay on the hip. So find what works for you. And once you settle in, again, you have the option to rock a little bit. Again, find this really calming, really soothing movement of just rocking the body like you would rock a baby to sleep. And as you rock, you can feel that compression kind of make its way. As you rock back, you'll rock back right to the border of the scapula. And then you might land and settle into stillness, kind of fine-tune, micro-adjust your posture here, and then breathe deep. Breathe deep into the belly. Exhale, slow and steady. Go ahead and take your top arm. You'll plant it in front of you. Slide your bottom hand underneath your head to kind of help you as you press all the way up to seated. So just come up to seated for a moment before we go over to the other side. And first just find a nice tall spine. And without really moving the arms or the neck, just notice the right side of your body versus the left side. And check in, with the arms, with the ribs. Maybe breathe and notice, hopefully, that left side feels really free and relaxed. I know mine does. And then we'll reach the arms up just to notice with some movement. There's a difference in one side and the other. So we'll do the other side, so we're nice and balanced. And rest down. So you can begin with the knees stacked one on top of the other. And with that hand underneath your head for support. And you might start rocking forward and back a little bit to start. As you're ready, you can extend that bottom arm out and really here palm face up or palm face down is totally fine. First, just check in with your neck. Make sure this feels okay today. And if it doesn't, hand under the head is totally fine. You're still going to get a really good myofascial release for the intercostals. Let's go ahead and lift that top leg up, stretch it down towards the end of the mat. Find a sense of engagement through the belly, kind of cinch in around the waist, and then reach your top arm up. Inhale. Exhale and release the two away. Again, for me, taking the leg back just a little bit feels more balanced. But check in with this bottom hip. Make sure everything has landed where you feel comfortable. And maybe invite some of this rolling movement. Breathe deep. Exhale slow and steady. And find a place to just invite some stillness and a deeper breath. your time. We'll come out really slow, placing a hand in front of you for support, a hand underneath your head, and then make your way up towards seated. Again, pause. Just find a nice tall spine. Breathe. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead. And exhale, release your arms down. Okay, so we're going to come onto your backs and we're going to end with some rolling spinal twists to bring in that movement of rocking into the body and open the chest just a little bit more. We've done quite a bit of opening for the abdomen and for the side ribs, but another piece of helping the front line of the body feel safe and relaxed is to open through the chest. So that's where we're going next. So take a blanket or a pillow and put it up towards the top of your mat. And I like to have something wide because we're going to be rolling from one side to the other quite a bit. Come to your back. You can always have a bolster nearby. Those are nice to have handy for spinal twists. So you'll come onto your back and just take a moment to get yourself kind of adjusted and settled into the floor. The arms are going to open out wide to a T position. You can plant your feet and just begin by really slowly and gently rocking your knees side to side. And from here, push into your feet, kind of adjust the pelvis, get yourself really settled. And then go ahead and we're going to roll all the way over to your left side. So you'll pick up your right arm and bring it with you. So here's where kind of our starting point's going to be. You're going to be all the way onto your left side. And we'll just start to warm up this opening of the chest here at first. So you're going to lift your top arm up just a little bit. And then reach forward like you're reaching for me. And then reach the arm back behind you overhead, passing through this big side body stretch. Should feel good now. And then continue to roll yourself open. And as you can see, I'm going to keep my arm lifted from the floor. I'm not going to bring it all the way down. The goal is to have wrist and head of the arm bone staying nice and aligned. And then continue to roll the arm down, and then you're going to roll yourself closed, and the arm will just follow. And we're just going to continue with these really fluid circles, guided by our breath, by our deep breaths into the belly, and our slow breaths out through the mouth. As always, moving through a pain-free range of motion. So if that means you need to bend your elbow, you can also do a variation of this with the hand on the shoulder. So you're kind of taking the arm out of the equation. If there are any mobility issues happening through the shoulder, you can still get these great benefits of the spinal twist. And let's do one more big circle as you're ready, and open the arm out to a T position. And we'll pause here. And then once the arm's out to T, pick up your right knee, pull it into the belly, and then roll yourself all the way over to your left side. And we're going to do the same thing from the left. So you'll start one palm on top of the other. And then you'll lift your arm up and reach the arm towards me, and then sweep the arm back overhead. Pass through this big side body opening, and then let the heart roll open, and the arm will just follow. It'll sweep back down, and then the chest will roll you close. The arm will follow and reach. Keep going. Pain-free range of motion. And in life, we tend to kind of move from the outside, moving from our limbs first. But see if you can start to move more functionally and move really from the spine, move from the inside out as you roll open. Roll open through the chest, and then just see how the arm just naturally follows. So try not to get ahead of yourself. The next time that your arm is open to a T, pause here. You'll pull your left knee in, so you'll find a little bit of hip flexion,
and then roll yourself over. Now we're going to just rock and roll side to side. So you'll roll all the way over. You'll bring your arm with you. That's going to be your exhale. Your inhale, you're going to lift the right arm, pull the right knee in, kind of pass through a little butterfly pose here, and then roll yourself closed. Big exhale to your side. Inhale, moving the arm and the leg kind of as one here. Exhaling to roll to your side. And just keep going. And sometimes you might just feel a movement that's like really intuitive of a way to add on. Any other like movements with your arms, if you want to circle them as you roll side to side. Just listen to your body. And just kind of enjoy this rocking side to side. And really not being in any rush to get to one side or the other. Enjoy that transition to your back. Slow exhale to your side. Let's do one more round. So after the next time that you're rolling back towards center, we'll just find our way here at center. Go ahead and stretch your legs all the way out onto your mat. And then inhale, reach your arms back behind you overhead. Deep breath in here. As you exhale, pick up your right leg, bend your knee, pull your knee into your belly. At the bottom of that exhale, really press out every last bit of air and squeeze the right knee in a little bit more. Inhale, release the right leg and the arms away, moving really slow, like you're moving through like murky or muddy water or something. Exhale, pick up the left leg again, moving slow. Pull the knee in. Press out every last bit of air as you give that knee an extra little squeeze into the belly. Inhale, release. Breathe deep, stretch out. Exhale, picking up the right leg, waving the arms down. Feel that contraction through the belly. Press out every last bit of air as you squeeze the knee in. Releasing the arms and the legs away really slow. Exhale, pick up your left leg, bend the knee, pull the knee into the belly. Inhale, release the left leg away. We'll pause here, stretching out really long. And then go ahead and interlace your hands, slide your hands to the back of your head. And we've got one more little yin posture. Shake out your legs a little bit. And you're going to walk both of your legs over to your left. And then lift up your head and shoulders and slide your blanket or your pillow with you so you have this support underneath the head and the shoulders. And slide them to the left as well. So you're creating like a whole C shape with the body. Now this right leg, I'm lifting it so you can see. I'm going to internally rotate it and then pick up the left foot and rest it on the right foot. So that this left leg is holding my right leg and a little bit of internal rotation, allowing my whole lateral line to slowly be invited open. Now, once you get here, if the hands are still comfortable underneath the head, you can keep them here. If they're not, release the arms however you feel most comfortable, right? So they can be a variety of different ways. And then check in with your head and your neck. I like to turn the head a couple times, side to side. And then let my head land like where it just feels most at ease. Return to your deep diaphragmatic breath and focus that breath into the right lung now. And imagine that with each inhale, you're stretching your right lung a little bit longer, increasing its capacity. But again, think of breathing deep into the belly, just using the diaphragm, and let these muscles through the chest and the neck just take a break here. With the arms overhead, they should be in a position of release, so they get released as they get a little break, which is great.
Do a little body scan. Just continue to make sure there's nowhere that the body is gripping or holding tension, even on a subconscious level. Feel the belly expand and contract. Take one more deep breath into that right lung. Slowly unwind your legs, walk your legs back to center, grab your blanket, kind of slide it back to center too. Take a little pause. Reach your arms back and notice the difference between your right side and your left. Let's just add a little bit of flexion to the spine here before we go to the other side, just to balance. So draw your knees up to bent, and then pull the knees really gently into the belly and rock side to side. Or really do anything that your body or your back is craving at this point. If you tend to have low back issues, having the legs extended flat on your back doesn't always feel great. So if you felt your back start to ache a little bit in that last one, then I'll show you a way that you can modify for this side. So just a bolster underneath the knees. You'll still get a yummy side bend. You'll just walk both legs over, and this will just put a little bit of slack on your hip flexors, which makes your back feel better. So you'll roll your left leg in, cross your right ankle over your left, and then curve your body towards your right. So again, you're finding that side bend here towards the right. Check in with the shoulders as you get here. Check in with the neck. Make sure everything's happy. Maybe turn the head side to side a little bit. Let the head land where it feels most at ease. And start to bring in your deep, deep breath. Like you could stretch your left lung a little bit longer. Imagine you're breathing into those gills on your left side. Cultivate your slow exhalations. Take your time, moving really slow, being gentle with yourself, making your way out. If you've had a bolster underneath your knees for that last round, you can totally keep it here. Shavasana is coming up next. But let's all draw the knees up to bent and take a moment to kind of push into the feet, maybe lift the pelvis, give the low back a little bit of traction, and set it back down. And pull your knees back into your belly. Rock side to side. And so setting up for Shavasana, if you don't have an extra blanket or a sandbag would be great for this too. Grab something that you could lay across your belly. So I'm going to go grab one extra blanket because I do want you to have a pillow or blanket underneath your head. That helps the belly feel a little bit more relaxed. And then some weight on the belly also helps it feel really supported and relaxed. So again, a sandbag or a heavy weighted blanket, just something for that little bit of biofeedback so we can stay connected to our breath while we're here.
and let the belly feel really safe and protected. So come to your back. Something underneath the knees is always great. And something under the head. Lay your blanket or your sandbag across the belly. And then walk the legs out a little bit wider than hips distance. Shift around, adjust until you feel really settled and at ease. And just start to imagine a nice warm pot of tea that you've made with a lot of care. Maybe you have some specific tea you've used or herbs that you want to visualize putting in. And then we're just going to let our focus rest on our exhales here and our tea. So you'll just find a natural breath into the belly. It doesn't have to be super deep. I don't want you to over effort. Just let the breath come with ease. But as you exhale, I want you to imagine that you're pouring this really steaming, warm water from your teapot. Super slow and steady. And that this breath is pouring out of you just as mindfully as you'd pour your tea out. So being mindful to not kind of dump all of your tea out at first, not to let it rush out. It could splatter. Being really slow and steady with your breath, just like you would warm water from a teapot. And you might imagine that with each slow breath out, you're pouring tension out of the body. You're pouring any limiting beliefs out of the body. You're pouring any negative emotions or thoughts. Just releasing those with each slow, steady breath out. On your next inhale, just simply notice how the breath comes, where it goes, how it feels. Notice if, hopefully now, your inhales are coming with more ease, that they are deeper, more complete, and more satisfying. And your next exhale out, you might count the breath and just notice if through this practice you've been able to lengthen your exhales. And start to find some gentle movement, taking your time, being really slow. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. And find a really easeful transition to one side. And then all the way up to seated. On an inhale, float the arms up overhead. Join your palms. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart at prayer. Just taking a moment to bow. And again, to notice the state of your body and your mind right now. And just know you can always return to this place of calm with a few deep breaths in and some slow breaths out.